The reason I decided to start coaching is very, very simple. I like helping others. Okay. I've been in service industries my whole life. I really enjoy helping others. Right. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Zig Ziglar. Type of one in the chat if you're familiar with Zig Ziglar and his work. Right. But if you're familiar with him, he's famous for saying he was a good old boy from down south. I forget what state. He's from like, I don't know, like Alabama, Mississippi, something like that. And he used to say, you can get everything you want in life if you help enough people get what they want, right? He used to talk about getting a checkup from the neck up. He's a cool old dude. He's old school, but I believe that thoroughly, right? You can have everything you want in this life if you just help enough people. So what I would highly recommend, folks, take some notes. We're going to share some kind of epiphanies that I had along the way and show you the things that I was able to do in my business and how I now help people do them in their business, okay? So it's very, very simple. There's no greater joy to me than paying it forward. Okay. Not only did I have a really, really good foundation, objectively speaking, I learned commercial real estate. I'm second generation in commercial real estate. So when people ask me how long I've been in this business, I say 46 years. They're like, huh? You don't look that old. I'm like, well, I know nothing but this business. Every school vacation, every night at dinner, everything was focused around commercial real estate because both mom and dad worked in commercial real estate. So all I was ever exposed to my entire life was commercial real estate. So I realized that, what? I have sat and been privy to a lot of conversations, a lot of knowledge, generations of knowledge that I was very, very lucky for. And it's my job and my joy to help pay it forward. I always say to myself, what are the things that I wish I knew the first day of sitting down, in this business? Because folks, guess what? There is a 97% failure rate in this business for a reason. Okay. Not because it's easy to do, not because it's logical, not because it's fun, to get kicked in the teeth a bunch. Right. But the very simple reason why I help people is that I got involved in coaching is because I like helping people. This business has been very good to me. And at a certain point, when you have enough to eat, why not help your neighbor? Like what's that old saying? Instead of building a higher fence, you build a longer table, right? There is plenty of room. There's plenty of pie for us all to eat. The pie's way big enough. How many of you have ever felt that way? That a lot of other folks in the industry, they might come from a place of scarcity. Like one deal in your pocket is one deal out of my pocket. I don't believe that at all. In fact, I'll go as far as to say, I have sold this coaching program to quote unquote competition, people in my market. I have given my exact methodologies, my exact scripts, my exact game plan to other brokers in my market. Why? Because I don't believe in competition. I do. There's only one of me. There's only one of you. And that's what makes each of us different and special. We are our own brand. Does that make sense, guys? Type #brand if that makes sense for you guys. By the way, I don't like just playing Simon Says when I ask you to put stuff in the chat. All right. It's based on neuroscience. Your brain, okay, when you're either writing or typing, is creating neural pathways for this information straight to your brain. So if you want to be able to recall what you are learning, it's very, very important. You either type or write. Okay, very, very important. Okay, so this is not just a fun game. As Simon Says, I like to play every Monday from 5:30 to 6. I'm doing that so that you can recall this information down the road. Okay, again, that 97% failure rate. Okay, because let me like rewind the clock back. Right, early in my career, I got an entrepreneurship and small business management degree. I got out and it basically was, I wanted to go into my family business of commercial real estate development. And they said, you know what, in order for you to be really successful in commercial real estate development, you need to learn a trade. You need to learn the construction side of the business. So I did. I spent 5 years learning the construction side of commercial real estate development, right? So literally jeans and boots every day, doing my thing. Okay. So when I got to the business, what wound up happening was I learned it from the ground up, literally from the trenches, right? And what I found was even with understanding the development side of things, even managing 125 tenants for over 10 years, okay? We had 7 office parks, light industrial office, so on and so forth, right? Even with all of that, by the time I got to brokerage, even with having done leasing for over 10 years, there were some major gaps, right? The brokerage transition is tough. So here I am, literally 15 years in this business before I got started in brokerage full time, right? I had been doing leasing and property management, all these related aspects. What happened was I said to myself, this is a really, really tough business to break into. I've already been writing leases for 10 years. I've already been showing people properties. I've already been doing renovations and build outs and working with tenant improvements and all this stuff for over a decade. Yet in my first year in brokerage, I made $12,000, guys, right? Why? Not for lack of effort, not because I was sipping Mai Tais here in Miami Beach, but because this is a very, very tough business to get started. So I can see, I experienced it myself, why there would be a 97% failure rate, because I thought I was just going to knock it out of the park, just walk in here and just crush. But the fact of the matter is this business is not very, it's not very logical in what works. In fact, what we do is completely contrarian. It's very upside down to what actually works in the market. The reason we do what we do is because everybody else is doing it the other way, and everybody else is doing average results. Just as a show of hands, guys, how many of you, you want to earn what 1% of the nation earns? How many of you would like to earn over $428,000 per year? Type 428 in the chat, right? Do me a favor, light that chat up. I want to see 428. I won't move another step until I see, now we're talking. Okay, we got Missy, we got Malia, we got Nick, we got Valerie, okay, Gio, you get it, okay? So think about this logically, folks. If you want to earn $428,000 or more, what a 1% earner does in this business, guess what? You have to do what 99% of people are not doing and not willing to do. Does that make sense, folks? So whatever everybody else is doing, you had better be doing the opposite. Okay. So yeah, if you guys are hopping on, make sure you are muting it up. That'd be great. Awesome. So guys, that's the point. So if you want to earn what 99% of people don't earn, you have to do what 99% of people aren't or won't do. Does that make sense, folks? Does that make logical sense? That's the only thing logical about this business, I swear, is understanding that you have to be what's called contrarian. Hey, Rachel, good to see you. How are you? Rachel tried to join. Are you able to hop on the live? Hopefully. Yep. Cool. All right, guys. So the transition was tough. The transition was tough. It wasn't easy with even all the previous years' experience, even with 5 years in development and 10 years of property management and all those things. Guess what? I still was unable to hit the earnings level that I wanted. I figured I was like, yeah, I just come in, make 200 grand first year or so, crush a couple big deals. Sure. How hard could it be? Huh? How many of you felt like that? You look around and you see other people in your office, right, that are making good money. Type 1 in the chat if you see people making good money and they're no smarter than you, no harder working than you, but for some reason, like they're just one after the next, after the next. You can't really identify what's different. Type 1 in the chat if any of you have ever experienced that, right? Yep. I see Elvis is with me, Jeff is with me, Missy's with me, Malia's with me. Guys, that's the thing. Gus is with me. That's the thing, folks. Pietro, Denise. It doesn't make logical sense. Nothing about this business makes logical sense. So what we have to do is some things that are a little bit counterintuitive. They're a little bit illogical, because if you do what the other guy does over and over and over again, you're going to get the exact same results. And raise your hand if you guys are here, right? Type a 2 in the chat if you're here because you want average results. Do you want average results? You want way above average results? Because I'm sure you're not taking time away from your business and away from your family if you're here to get average results. Okay, exactly. Sarai's with me. Okay, cool. Because think about it, folks. At the end of the day, when you start doing well and things start clicking and things start going your way, does it matter whether your swimming pool is 20 feet deep or 200 feet deep, right? People say, well, why do you, the thing I get on when I'm talking to someone who's considering joining the program, they're like, well, if you're such a good broker, why don't you just go out there and do it yourself? Yeah, I did. Yeah. And I've done it over and over again, and I continue to do it. But is there something wrong with sharing the knowledge that worked for me? A lot of people, they're just like, why would you ever do that? Because my swimming pool's deep enough. I can't touch the bottom. I enjoy it. Am I like Warren Buffett? No, but do I live a comfortable life? Do I have enough that I can help others? Yes. Okay. All right. So that's the thing is some people, they just want more. And that's just not my jam. I'm happy. I'm content and comfortable. And now it's like, hey, what do I wish I had my first day of commercial brokerage? What are the skills and knowledge that I had? Because folks, okay, even let's just say that was the case. People were like, why are you creating competition? Do you think someone that's in Columbus, Ohio is competition for Miami, Florida? Do you think someone that's in Idaho, someone that's in Texas, someone that's in Southern California? So what's wrong with me sharing these things with people nationwide so they can benefit their lives and have better lives for their family and maybe send their kids to better schools, maybe give back to their communities? Do you see the net positive effect? This is why I do this, guys. I'm trying to put good into the universe. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with anybody? Like any of you out there, like actively like volunteer or go out of your way to try to help people, right? That's what it's all about, guys. It's a good feeling when you help others, when it's not just about you, because that was really the thing I came to. I said to myself, I'm like, wait a minute. When a brokerage transaction occurs, I help my client, and in turn, I help myself, right? My thing is this: what if I can help dozens and dozens and dozens of people? Okay, I mean, the Facebook group is almost 7,000 strong at this point, guys, right? Like, what if I could help dozens and dozens and dozens of other people enrich their lives? Do you think I'm putting more net positive into the universe? That's what I'm here for, guys. Okay. And hopefully you guys have a similar mentality. Like, you don't give to get, you give to give, and things come back your way tenfold. It's just the way that like the universe works. I'm not necessarily religious or spiritual or this or that. I just believe in good karma. And if you do enough good for other people, good stuff comes your way. So that is one of the major tenets of why I started teaching people, right? So I tried a bunch of different things, guys. I tried a bunch of things, right? So when I got into this business, I tried just doing the same model of leasing that I was doing, doing small bay leasing, and I put a dozen deals together. Like I said, I made $12,000 in 1 year. Like, great, 12 deals is good, but when you're barely paying your car insurance, it's not so good, right? So and then I stumbled across kind of like a method, because like I saw others succeed in it and couldn't kind of figure out what worked. Right. So what I wound up doing is like is trying to think a little bit outside the box, because I saw what other folks did. And the thing I learned, and tell me guys if you ever see this, right, is how many of you have ever seen someone that like they're probably in their like 50s, 60s, maybe their 70s, right? What happens is a lot of those guys, what worked when you were in what I call the pre-internet age, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? Before the internet really took over. And even the early 2000s, the people that came up during that period, okay, they didn't have, information was scarce. So they had to go be boots on the ground. They had to go and talk to people. They had to go have coffee with the guy and ask about this deal and ask about that deal. Bah, 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 bah. Well, guess what? Nowadays, you can go and do a CoStar report, and you can find out the last 20 deals that sold in this quarter-mile radius in the last year and a half. You with me? Right? So information is no longer scarce. Information is plentiful. But you know what's missing today? Human to human contact. How many of you miss being able to talk to a human being? How many of you miss trying to get a hold of someone at AT&T when your phone isn't working right, or the bank when you want to deposit a check, right? That's what's missing. So where everyone wants to push a button, everybody wants to send a text, everyone wants to send an email, I say reach out and touch somebody. Does everyone remember that was it MCI or AT&T from the 80s, that slogan? Reach out and touch somebody, guys, because that's what makes the most sense. But getting back to it, I couldn't replicate a lot of these older brokers' methodologies because they came up in a time that was very, very different. So it's almost like, for those of you younger guys, or those of you single folks, right? It'd be like asking your grandfather to help you with your Tinder or your Bumble profile, right? Like what worked in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Not going to work today if you're trying to be competitive in today's market, right? So very, very important. So guys, does that make sense? How many of you, like type of one in the chat, if someone that like came up 20, 25, 30 years ago is giving you advice, and it's very, very hard for you to replicate that advice, right? Does that ever happen to any of you guys? Because that's the problem. Type of one in the chat if that's ever happened to you. You're like, yeah, this sounds good, but what I don't understand, what doesn't kind of click for me is that like I go to apply it and no one else, it's not clicking. I'm not getting the traction, right? Because I too felt the exact same way. I just couldn't replicate it because it was very linear. I was thinking, you do this, you do this, you do this. I had like a very kind of, most people have like a linear, like inside the box kind of idea. So what I did was I said, you know what? Let me go outside of the box, right? Let me go try to find mentors to help me kind of understand that. So what I had found, right, and what works for me, and you can tell I'm not not a very good speller, but patterns and procedures. That's what I found work for me. I find that I discovered a method. It was very, very outside the box, but very, very common sense because I created a pattern and a procedure around everything. Okay, what I realized is, what is everyone else trying to do? And then how do I do that more effectively, more efficiently, and then cover more ground doing it, right? So where a lot of people were doing a lot of these things themselves, I started to employ staff once I got some traction. I was able to crack the code. I was able to crack the code on how to take listings. And once I was able to crack that code, I was able to start to systematize things, right? Once I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm stumbling onto something. And what I wound up doing is then putting together my entire process in like a flow chart, right? And then I removed all the pieces that I didn't need to be doing, so I could be doing more prospecting, presenting, and following up. Okay. And then I finally cracked the code. And next thing you know, I had one of my co-star reps say, like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, what do you mean? They're like, no one's putting up as many, no one-man shop is putting up as many listings as you are on a monthly basis. What are you doing? I'm like, well, I do what the highest value activities are every single day. And I did, and I outsource the rest. You know, I have like either I started with virtual with virtual help, and then I wound up having an in-place admin, and that's what I did. That, and you know, and my goal is to create a replicable. What my goal was is like to create a replicatable system, and now my goal is to show you guys how to do it. Right? Jennifer said she definitely runs into old school realtors. Yeah, absolutely. Those guys, they're a dime a dozen. You see them, the ones that like don't look anything like their business card. You know what I'm talking about, right? True story. But yeah, those are the old school ones. They did it a certain way, and I promise you, folks, I absolutely promise you, there is an easier way to do this business. How many of you type smarter if you guys would rather work smarter than harder? Okay. Right? How many of you would rather work smarter than harder? Because at the end of the day, there's only so many hours, right? And then our life, our family, our passions, or whatever it is, if it's not your work, right? Those need your attention too. So if you'd rather work smarter, not harder, because harder means more hours. Harder means tougher on your guts, means more grit. I'd rather work smarter than harder because it's a lot more effective. You know, you can certainly push the pull door, but I'd rather pull it. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. And that's what I've done. We created a replicatable system, and we've taught dozens and dozens and dozens of agents this exact system. And when you break it down, when you can do it once and you can do it in your market, that's cool. Okay. But what about if you can replicate it in 25, 30 or 30 plus states? Would you say that's a replicatable system, right? Would you say that works coast to coast? 100%. Okay. So that's what we do, folks. We make it easier because what we're here to do is teach a replicatable system, and we're not in B2B. We're not in B2C. Guys, we are H to H. We're here to help other human beings, right? We are in the human to human business. You can connect with somebody. That is how they gain your trust and offer you to take their listing, right? Not because you sent them a million emails from your CRM, not because you blasted text at them. But what you need to understand is you create a replicatable system, you connect with people on a human to human basis, and there's absolutely no substitute for it. I promise you, you will move the ball forward. Your business will grow like you have never seen. I tripled my business in 2 years doing this exact methodology. Went from 140 to 500 in 24 months. Okay. And the reason being, I learned what to do, and most importantly, what not to do. So stay tuned next week, guys. I look forward to seeing you here. Every week, we're dropping you little gold nuggets, okay? So that you can do just like Missy did, take what you learned, implement it, and start cracking the code on this, right? You see that full head nod? Yes. And you'll see her every single week here because we are dropping knowledge every single week. So Missy, congratulations again. I'm super duper happy for you. Really, really pleased. And folks, don't be afraid to reach out. If you know you have, if you're not making the type of money that you want, learn something, because the faster you learn, the faster you earn. Okay. So if not for me, do it for your families, do it for those that count on you, because there's the huge pie out there. We are in one of the biggest, the best markets that we've seen in quite some time. And here's the coolest thing. I just read this stat over the weekend. There's going to be like the baby boomer generation holds about 66% of all wealth. We are about to see the largest wealth transfer. And guess who owns commercial real estate? The majority of the people, they're baby boomers. They're born from 1945 to 1965, okay? And that whole generation is about to divest and start selling it off. And what better industry to be involved in than commercial real estate brokerage, so you can capitalize on it.